got me, Lemuel? All right. Whenever you're ready.
Test. This is the book of Judges, chapter 15 and verse 1. But it came to pass within a while after, in the time of wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife with a kid, and he said, I will go in to my wife into the chamber. But her father would not suffer him to go in. And her father said, I verily thought that thou hast utterly hated her. Therefore I gave her to thy companion. Is not her younger sister fairer than she? Take her, I pray thee, instead of her. And Samson said concerning them, Now shall I be more blameless than the Philistines, though I do them a displeasure. And Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and took firebrands, and turned tail to tail, and put a firebrand in the midst between two tails. And when he had set the brands on fire, he let them go into the standing corn of the Philistines, and burned up both the shocks, and also the standing corn with the vineyards and olives. And the Philistines said, Who have done this? And they answered, Samson, the son-in-law of the Timonite, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion. And the Philistines came up and burnt her and her father with fire. And Samson said unto them, Though ye have done this, yet will I be avenged of you, and after that I will cease. And he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter. And he went down and dwelt in the top of the rock of Etam. And the Philistines went up and pitched in Judah, and spread themselves in Lehi. And the men of Judah said, Why are ye come up against us? And they answered, To bind Samson are we come up, to do him as he have done to us. Then rose 3,000 men of Judah. Then 3,000 men of Judah went up to the top of the rock of Etam, and said to Samson, Knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that thou hast done unto us? And he said unto them, As they did unto me, so have I done unto them. And they said unto him, We are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hand of the Philistines. And Samson said unto them, Swear unto me that you will not fall upon me yourselves. And they spake unto him, saying, No, but we will bind thee fast, and deliver thee into their hand. But surely we will not kill thee. And they bound him with 2 new cords, and brought him up from the rock. And when he came unto Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. And the cords that were upon his arm became as flax that was burnt with fire, and his hands loosed from off his hands, and his bands loosed from off his hands. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand, and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said, With the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps, with the jaw of an ass have I slain 1,000 men. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking, that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, and called the place Ramoth Lehi. And he was sore athirst, and called on the Lord, and said, Thou hast given me this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant, and now shall I die for thirst, and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised? But God clave an hollow place that was in the jaw, and there came water thereout. And when he had drank, his spirit came again, and he revived. Wherefore he called the name thereof.
Yeah, you good, bro.
Yeah. In hot
In hardcore? Hey, man.
Yeah,
With
in high court.
When stammering lips and another tongue, man.
Right.
Oh, praises.
Which is in Lehi unto this day. And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistine 20 years.
All right, so we're going to stop there real quick. Any questions before we move on to 16? Anybody? No questions? I got some questions. I got a question. Right? So where in the scriptures, read verse 11 again.
Judges 15, verse 11.
Yes, sir.
Then 3,000 men of Judah went up to the top of the rock Etam and said to Samson, knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that thou hast done unto us? And he said unto them, as they did unto me, so have I done unto them.
So where in the scriptures have we seen this spirit on our people before? Where somebody rose up for the people and the enemy was riled up against us and the people didn't like it. Where have we seen this in the scriptures before? Anybody? Anybody? Jeremiah, excuse me. You got the why. Oh, praise.
Shalom leadership, happy Sabbath.
Shalom, happy Sabbath.
When Christ rose up for us and the Pharisees and Sadducees gathered against him, didn't like it.
Okay, that's good. I'm talking about like the people per se. For example, let's say a man stood up for the people and the people started getting oppressed or, people started getting put to death and our people would tell the leader of our people, hey, man, leave them people alone. They rule over us, like something like that. Where else in the scriptures would we see something like that? Because that's always been the spirit of our people, man. Our people have always kind of loved their oppression.
I could use Moses. When Moses rose up for us and they wanted to go back to, the Egyptians.
Okay, you got a scripture? That's a good scripture. That's a good one. Anybody can help them out? Five more seconds. No worries, bruh. I got you. It's Exodus 14 and 12. Get that, let me will. Exodus 14 and 12, right? We saw this, and it's not the only place we saw this, but we saw it back during the time of the Egyptians with Moses, right? Where people rose up for our people, and they didn't like it. They liked their oppression. Read what you got, Lemuel.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 14 and verse 12.
Read.
Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians?
That we may what?
That we may serve the Egyptians.
They rule over us, man. Why you bothering them? Leave them alone. Read.
For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in this wilderness.
Right. So when we examine the scriptures, Old, New Testament, Apocrypha, our people have always had a spirit to want to serve the enemies because some of our people, all of our people are not suffering. Does that make sense? Like some of our people have good jobs, some of our people have money, some of our people deal with or dally with many women, some of our women dally with many men, they got it good here, so they don't believe that they're oppressed. So when somebody rise up for them and tell them, hey, you oppressed, and start riling up the enemies against us, those people that's comfortable, hey man, they rule over us, leave them alone, I'm good. You oppressed, I'm not, so stop messing it up for me. Make sense? All right, all praises. Let's go to Judges 16. There ain't none of y'all in here, is it? None of y'all comfortable? I hope not. All praises. We're going to find out. All right, 16.
The book of Judges, chapter 16 and verse 1. Then went Samson to Gaza, and saw there an harlot, and went in unto her. And it was told to the Gazites, saying, Samson is come hither. And they compassed him in, and laid wait for him in the night in the gate of the city. And they were quiet all night, saying, in the morning, when it is day, we shall kill him. And Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight, and took the doors of the gate of the city and the 2 posts, and went away with them, bar and all, and put them upon his shoulders, and carried them up to the top of the hill that is before Hebron. And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. And the Lord of the Philistines came up unto her, and said unto her, entice him, and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him. And we will give thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver. And Delilah said to Samson, tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict thee. And Samson said unto her, if they bind me with 7 green withs that were never dried, then shall I be weak and be as another man. Then the Lord of the Philistines brought up to her 7 green withs which had not been dried, and she bound him with them. Now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. And she said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he brake the withs with it, as a thread of a tow is broken when it toucheth the fire. So his strength was not known. And Delilah said unto Samson, behold, thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, if they bind me fast with new ropes that were never occupied, then shall I be weak and be as another man. And Delilah therefore took new ropes and bound him therewith, and said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And they were liars in wait, abiding in the chamber. And he brake them from off his arms like a thread. And Delilah said unto Samson, hitherto thou hast mocked me, and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, if thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. And she fastened it with the pin, and said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awake out of his sleep, and went away with the pin of the beam and the web. And she said unto him, how canst thou say, I love thee, when thy heart is not with me? Thou hast mocked me these 3 times, and hast not told me wherein thy great strength lieth. And it came to pass, when she pressed him daily with her words, and urged him, so that his soul was vexed unto death, that he told her all his heart, and said unto her, there have not come a razor upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man. And Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart. She went and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying, come up this once, for he hath showed me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and brought money in their hand. And she made him sleep upon her knees. And she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head. And she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. And she said, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awoke out of his sleep and said, I will go out as at other times before, and shake myself, and wist not that the Lord was departed from him. But the Philistines took him, and put out his eyes, and brought him down to Gaza, and bound him with fetters of brass, and he did grind in the prison house. Howbeit the hair of his head began to grow again after he was shaven, And the lords of the Philistines gathered them together for to offer a great sacrifice unto Dagon their God, and to rejoice. For they said, our God had delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hand. And when the people saw him, they praised their God. For they said, our God had delivered into our hands our enemy, and the destroyer of our country, which slew many of us. And it came to pass, when their hearts were merry, that they said, call for Samson, that he may make us sport. And they called for Samson out of the prison house, and he made them sport, and they set him between the pillars. And Samson said unto the lad that held him by the hand, suffer me, that I may feel the pillars whereupon the house standeth, that I may lean upon them. Now when the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there, and there were upon the roof about 3,000 men and women that beheld while Samson made sport. And Samson called unto the Lord, and said, O Lord God, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me, I pray thee only this once, O God, that I may be at once avenged of the Philistines for my 2 eyes. And Samson took hold of the two middle pillars upon which the house stood, and on which it was borne up, and of the one with his right hand, and the other with his left. And Samson said, let me die with the Philistines. And he bowed himself with all his might, and the house fell upon the lords, and upon all the people that were therein. So the dead which he slew at his death were more than they which he slew in his life. Then the brethren, and all the house of his father came down, and took him, and brought him up, and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol, in the burying place of Manoah his father, and he judged Israel 20 years.
All right. Any questions? All right, what you got, Jeremiah? Jeremiah, excuse me, man. I keep forgetting. With a Y, you got the black Hebrew Israelite junk, man. I'm messing with you. What's up?
So on verse 30, when it talks about that he slew more that day than he did his whole life, meaning that there was more than like 5,000 people in that one place?
It doesn't give an exact number outside the 3,000 that was on the roof, but given his entire life, he was putting them down.
Yeah.
You know, he slew more in that moment. Because remember, go back to verse 23. Right?
Verse 23.
Remember whenever he had moments where he slew the Philistines, he was in like little spurts where they'd piss him off and then he'd kill a few. The biggest time being when he slew 1,000 of them with the jawbone, right? Mm-hmm. But this time it was like a banquet or a party because they were celebrating Samson being captured, right? Read what you got.
Verse 23. Then the lords of the Philistines gathered them together for to offer a great sacrifice unto Dagon their God, and to rejoice. For they said, our God had delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands.
Right, so this was a celebration, meaning there was probably a lot of people, probably thousands of people there, and Samson gave them hell all his life.
Right.
So they were happy about this thing. This was probably a big gathering in a big palace kind of thing, right? Read. Verse 24.
And when the people saw him, they praised their God. For they said, our God had delivered into our hands our enemy, and the destroyer of our country, which slew many of us.
Read.
And it came to pass, when their hearts were merry, that they said, call for Samson, that he may make us sport. And they called for Samson out of the prison house, and he made them sport. And they set him between the pillars.
Right, so to give you the context, this is probably a gathering, a party, in a nice environment, a nice house or a nice building that can fit thousands of people. And they having fun. They drinking, they laughing, they clowning Samson. And lo and behold, he about to bring the house down on them. So imagine like a I don't want to say a castle, but maybe like a castle or some structure that can fit thousands of people, like a coliseum, something like that, and they in there partying and having fun and drinking. So if, I don't know, think of like I hate to say a coliseum or a stadium or something, but let's say people in there and they happy and they drink, it's like 10, 20, 30, whatever, 1,000 people in there,
Right.
and then you just bring the drink down.
Okay.
You probably killed more people in that moment than you did all your life. Yeah. Right? Make sense? Anybody confused? All right, all praise. What you got? Hold on. Don't let me Nehemiah.
Yes, sir.
All praise. We got 2 Nehemiahs, man. All praise.
Shalom, leadership.
Shalom, Most High in Christ bless.
Most High in Christ bless. I was just wondering, was what's her name? Diana? I mean
Delilah.
Was she there?
Was she there?
Mm-hmm.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Probably. It doesn't say she was, but we can hope.
Yeah.
We can hope she was there, right?
Yes, sir.
All praises.
I had another question.
What's up?
Well, because this happened to him twice, right? Like a woman tricked him up. So
I don't want to say it happened to him twice that he was tricked. The first time I'll say this. He dealt with heathens twice. This being Delilah the second time, and then the other one that was given to his companion, right? So I wouldn't say that the woman tricked him more than, the father-in-law gave the woman, deceived him, right? Not necessarily the woman, but in this case, the woman did deceive him because she had a covetous spirit on her, right? And she allowed herself to be used by her people to destroy him. That's why the scriptures say not to marry the heathen, because they'll turn away you from serving the Lord. Her heart towards her people. That's why they was go to verse 4. Watch this.
Judges 16 and verse 4.
Read.
And it came to pass afterward that he loved the woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah.
It doesn't say she loved him. It says he loved her. Read.
And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her.
And who?
The Lord of the Philistines.
Right. So it's like, let's say, God forbid, you married a Hamite woman. She ain't Israel. She has nothing. Let's say a white woman, because that's our people love this stuff, like white people, right? So let's say you marry a white woman. Is her mind towards like the thing that just happened in Buffalo? Does her mind feel about that any type of way? Maybe towards the killer. Maybe you don't understand him. Maybe he was sick towards him. Maybe, but towards your people, does she feel anything? No. So it's not going to be likely that her people or your people can convince her of any empathy towards your people, but her people could, right? So her people came to her. Read.
And the Lord of the Philistines came up unto her.
Read.
And said unto her, entice him, and see wherein his great strength lieth.
Use those feminine wiles, entice him. Put it on him real quick. Talk to him, pillow talk with him, and see if he can confess to you how we can destroy him. And if you do so, we're gonna each give you. What did it say they was gonna give him? Verse. Keep reading.
And see wherein his great strength lieth,
Read.
and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we will give thee, every one of us, 1,100 pieces of silver.
Bruh, it doesn't say how many lords of the Philistines came. We can imagine, let's say just 5 came, and all of them going to give her 11,000 pieces of silver to put this man to death. She don't love him. He love her, and those her people. And that man been afflicting her people all his life. What's she going to do? She going to turn on him. She going to figure out what she need to do. She going to put it on him. She going to smell nice. You know what I'm saying? She going to cook him a nice meal. She going to make sure he good. And then she going to betray his behind. Right? So, yeah, man, he was deceived that one time because, she was, they came to her, her people came to her and planned to destroy him. Right? The first time, that wasn't the case.
So it was more so of the prophecy that it had to come true.
Right.
So it wasn't nothing he could really do, far as even though this woman was vexing him. Like I was just looking at it like he didn't see it. Like
I got you. Well, I'll say this: it was of the Lord for Samson to deal with the Philistines. This was foolish. Letting this woman deal with him was not. I mean, in the end, the Lord did what He did with it, but it was never meant for Samson to be deceived by that woman. I'm gonna show you why. Read verse 16, and then we're gonna get Micah 7 and 5. Watch this.
Judges chapter 16 and verse 16.
Read.
And it came to pass when she pressed him daily with her words and urged him, so that his soul was vexed unto death.
What that sound like? What that sound like, brothers? Nagging. We love y'all sisters, but sometimes y'all can nag, man. Right? That sound like nagging, man. Babe, come on now. How you so strong? Baby, come on. Come on. For days and days and years and years and years, you be like, oh, my God, bro. God dang. All right. Right? You know what I'm saying? That's how that hit. We love y'all sisters. I don't want y'all to think we don't love y'all. But sometimes, right? All right, but read verse 17. Let me know when class starts, too.
Verse 17.
Read.
That he told her all his heart.
Right. So he told her all his heart because she nagged him. She vexed him about it, right? So I'm going to show you where he went wrong. He broke a commandment when he did that. That wasn't of the Lord. And I'm going to show you what commandment he broke. Go to Micah 7:5. Write this down, brothers, especially you that are married and you that will be married, right? I know we love our wives and, deal with your wives. Talk to your wives, build your wives. But, do not rehearse everything to your wife. You understand? And sisters, if you're in the spirit, don't require your husband to rehearse everything to you. If you ask him something, your husband say, yeah, nah, you don't need to know that. Let it die. All right? And this is why. Read.
The book of Micah, chapter 7 and verse 5.
Read.
Trust ye not a friend.
Uh-huh.
Put ye not confidence in a guide.
Read.
Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom.
Read that again.
Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom.
Why? I want to see who's thinking. Why? That's a commandment, by the way. God said to the men, keep your mouth shut when it comes to who's the one that lies in your bosom?
Your wife.
Your wife. Be quiet when it comes to dealing with her with certain matters. Why?
Because she may turn and use it against you, or she know your weaknesses, so she may play on, or you may do something where she don't like, or she may get upset and she may, use whatever you told her against.
Right.
You know
Right, exactly. Now give me a scripture that say that. What you got, man? My man in the back. What's your name, sir?
I would say I will go to Proverbs 31 and 3.
There you go. Go ahead and get that. Proverbs 31 and 3. That's exactly it, right? It says, keep the bars of thy mouth from her that lieth in your bosom. It doesn't mean don't talk to your brother, talk to your rib. Brothers, let's not get simple. Talk to your rib, build her, playing with her. If she asking you questions or if she got good ideas, deal with her. That's wise. But if she's sitting up here, I use my wife for example. Let's say I'm in the midst of counsel, and my wife, hey, my lord, I noticed y'all up at the table, talking to sister, right? What was y'all talking about? What should my answer be? Mind your damn shalom. Oh, you crazy, babe. Go make a sandwich or something. What you need to know that for? That's none of your business, right? Read what you got.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 31 and verse 3.
Read.
Give not thy strength unto women.
Give not thy strength unto a woman. That means your preeminence. That also means don't say certain things when it comes to your woman. Read.
Nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings.
Nor what?
Nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings.
Right, because he couldn't keep the bar of his mouth closed between the woman that lied in his bosom. He told her a little too much, and she used it to destroy him. And ultimately it did destroy him, but not before, he took some people with him. So remember, brothers, deal with your wives accordingly, but don't rehearse everything to them, or it may cost you. I'm saying, not these sisters in here, though. These sisters righteous, man. Right, sisters? All praises, all praises. Sisters like, all praise. All right. One more. Because he asked about why did he fall for that? Like, right? All right, watch this. Go to Sirach 25 and verse 20. And this probably be the last one before class. Watch this. This is why for one, she nagged him. 2, he broke a commandment. He shouldn't have rehearsed it. But 3, hey, man, Samson might have been a quiet brother, man. In here I talk a lot, but at home, Quiet, man. Very quiet. Read.
What verse also?
20. Sirach 25 and 20. Watch this.
The book of Sirach, chapter 25 and verse 20.
Read.
As the climbing up of a sandy way is the defeat of the aged.
So imagine a senior citizen trying to walk up a hill covered in sand. Is that easy for them? That's hard. God said as hard as that would be for a senior citizen. Read.
So is a wife full of words to a quiet man.
Right. So imagine Samson sitting up there for the days and days and years, and his wife just bam, 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 bam. Right. Eventually he might give in. You know, all right, look, if you cut my locks off, man, and give me a quick temp fade real quick, we good? All right. Let's go ahead and stand up and face Jerusalem.